Most men chase women with words dipped in sugar, but never realize what truly melts a woman's heart is something far more rare. It's not a pickup line, it's not a compliment, it's not even confidence. It's presence. The kind that radiates from a man who doesn't need to impress because he already knows who he is. You see, Stoic men throughout history weren't known for seduction, yet they attracted effortlessly. Why? Because they carried a quiet strength, a calm certainty, a grounded peace that said, I don't need you to like me, but I see you clearly, and I respect you. Say that, not with your mouth, but with your energy. Look her in the eyes, and when you speak, say this, I like you, but I don't need you. I choose you if you're choosing me too. That line hits different because it's authentic, because it comes from a place of self-respect. Most women aren't used to being seen beyond their beauty. But a man who sees her mind, her spirit, and still doesn't lose himself, that man becomes unforgettable. The Stoic secret is simple. Hold your frame, speak. That's your truth. Let go of outcome when you say that line, and mean it. She'll feel something deeper than attraction. She'll feel trust, and that's what makes her fall. Most men are taught to impress women with grand gestures, clever words, or the perfect look. They learn to perform, to play a role, to wear masks they think will attract. But what most men don't understand is that the most powerful thing they can offer a woman is not a performance. It's presence. Presence means being fully there. I'm not distracted, not trying to control how you're perceived, not waiting for your turn to speak or worrying about whether you're winning her over. It means actually listening, not just hearing her words, but sensing her energy, observing without judgment, being anchored in the moment rather than in your head. A man who is present carries a calm weight. He doesn't rush to fill silence. He doesn't fidget, boast, or scan the room. His eyes stay where his attention is, here and now, and that energy is magnetic because it's rare. In a world of endless distractions and superficial exchanges, a man who brings full awareness into conversation becomes unforgettable. He doesn't have to try hard to be interesting. His attention makes the moment interesting. Women pick up on presence instantly. They feel it in your tone, your body language, your eye contact. It creates safety. It shows confidence without arrogance. It tells her that she matters, not because you're trying to get something from her, but because you've chosen to be fully available in that moment. No agenda. Just reality. Mm-hmm. This is what separates boys from men. A boy seeks validation. He wants to be liked, to be admired, to prove himself. A man doesn't need to chase that. He knows who he is. He's comfortable in silence. He's at peace in his own skin. That inner stillness becomes his foundation. It allows him to be present, to listen deeply, to respond rather than react. And presence doesn't mean being stoic in the sense of being cold, quite the opposite. It means being emotionally attuned, but not emotionally controlled. It's strength with sensitivity. It's the ability to stay calm under pressure, but still feel what's real. A present man won't interrupt. He won't rush to fix. He doesn't need to dominate the conversation. His calm, grounded energy speaks louder than words ever could. When a woman feels that, she leans in, she opens up, not because you forced it, but because your presence created the space where she could. That's the power. That's the real secret. Not cleverness, not cool lines, just showing up fully without pretending and being real. So while most guys are out there performing, trying to win her with tricks, you stand out by being something she rarely sees. A man who's simply here, not for attention, not for approval, just here with her in the moment. That kind of presence is not just attractive, it's unforgettable. And when a woman feels it, she doesn't forget the man who gave it to her. A man who speaks from self-respect doesn't speak to impress, he speaks to express. He doesn't try to convince someone to like him. He already knows his worth, and that energy shows in every word he says. When a man respects himself, it changes how he carries a conversation, how he sets boundaries, and how he chooses who gets access to his life. Right? Most people, especially men, trying to attract women speak from a place of need. They compliment too quickly, agree too easily, and avoid conflict at all costs because deep down, they're afraid of not being liked. But when a man speaks from self-respect, he doesn't chase approval. He doesn't sugarcoat his thoughts to fit in or stay silent to avoid disapproval. He shares his truth calmly, clearly, and without apology. Women can feel the difference immediately. A man who speaks with self-respect isn't aggressive or arrogant. He's simply grounded. He says what he means and means what he says. He doesn't over-explain or seek reassurance. He doesn't try to play games or hide behind a persona. He's real, and because he respects himself, his words carry weight. You can feel the certainty in his tone. There's no desperation, no manipulation, no overcompensation. When he expresses interest, it's not a strategy. It's a choice. He's not trying to get a reaction. He's not fishing for validation. He can say, I like you, and follow it with silence, because he's not waiting to hear it back just to feel good about himself. He's sharing, not begging. That distinction is everything. Self-respect also shows in how a man handles rejection. A man who values himself doesn't crumble when he's not chosen. He doesn't lash out or plead. He simply moves on, knowing that one person's opinion doesn't define his value. This emotional stability makes him attractive on a deeper level. He becomes the type of man who's not just noticed, he's remembered. Because he doesn't just talk, he carries a message in how he lives. I know what I bring. I won't settle for less, and I won't try to force what isn't meant. And when it comes to setting boundaries, self-respect is everything. A man who respects himself doesn't tolerate disrespect, not because he's trying to teach someone a lesson, but because he refuses to lower his standard. He doesn't chase those who flake. He doesn't beg for time, attention, or affection. If a woman is unsure about him, he lets her go. He doesn't argue to stay. He knows that anything forced isn't worth having. Speaking from self-respect also means knowing when not to speak. It's the discipline to stay silent when silence says more. It's the strength to walk away when staying means shrinking. It's the courage to be disliked for being honest rather than being loved for being fake. And in that quiet strength, women find something rare, something steady, something they can trust. Because deep down, every woman knows a man who respects himself will respect her, not for what she gives him, but simply because he lives by a higher standard. There are words that impress, and then there are words that impact. The phrase, I like you, but I don't need you, I choose you. If you're choosing me too, is one of those rare lines that cuts through noise, ego, and performance. It's not flashy, it's not poetic, but it carries the kind of emotional weight that makes a woman stop and feel something real. Because behind those words is a truth most women rarely hear. You are wanted not out of neediness, but from a place of strength. Most people enter relationships trying to fill a void. They want someone to complete them, to validate them, to fix the parts of themselves they haven't faced. That kind of love becomes a transaction. I give you attention, affection, or validation, and in return, you make me feel like I matter. But when someone speaks this phrase, it flips the script. It says, I matter already. My life is full. I'm not asking you to complete me. I'm inviting you to join me. The power of this phrase lies in its balance. I like you shows openness and vulnerability. It's direct. There's no game, no trying to act uninterested to maintain control. It's real. But then comes the boundary. I don't need you. That line alone holds massive weight. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means your identity isn't dependent on whether or not she chooses you. It communicates emotional independence, and that's rare. Most women have heard the opposite all their lives. They've met men who act like they'll fall apart without them, who cling too tightly, who put them on pedestals without even knowing who they really are. That kind of attention feels flattering at first, but eventually becomes pressure, stops feeling like connection and starts feeling like emotional burden. But when a man says, I don't need you, what she hears isn't coldness, it's relief. She doesn't have to carry your happiness. You've already built that for yourself. Then I choose you, not I'll settle for you or you're good enough for now, but a clear, intentional decision. That's powerful because choice means discernment. It means you've seen other options, you've lived without her, and you still want her. That kind of clarity is deeply attractive. And then the final piece, if you're choosing me too, it's not a demand, it's not a plea, it's a standard. You're not begging to be picked, you're offering a mutual exchange. Two people, both strong and whole, choosing each other freely. That's what makes the phrase so effective. It's not a tactic or trick. It only works if it's true. It's not about what the words say, it's about what they reflect. A man who can say this and mean it has done the inner work. He knows who he is. He respects himself, and he's not looking to be rescued or worshipped. He's looking to connect, not from lack, but from fullness. And when a woman hears that kind of honesty, grounded in calm confidence, she doesn't just hear words. She feels a man speaking from truth. And that's when real connection begins. Men see a woman's beauty and stop there. They get caught in her looks, her face, her body, the way she walks or smiles, and they build everything from that surface. But if that's all you ever see, you'll never really connect, because beauty might catch her attention, but it's being truly seen that captures her heart. A woman is more than her appearance. She knows when someone is only interested in what she looks like. She can feel when a man is projecting fantasies onto her instead of noticing who she really is. Compliments about her looks are everywhere. She's heard them 1,000 times. But what she rarely experiences is someone slowing down long enough to look deeper, to pay attention to the way she thinks, the things she cares about, the way she protects her heart, hides her fears, or pushes through life with strength no one acknowledges. Seeing her beyond beauty means being present enough to notice what makes her unique, not just what makes her attractive. It means you listen, not to reply or impress, but to understand. You're curious about her story, not just her style. You ask what she's passionate about, what keeps her up at night, what makes her laugh in a way she can't control. And when she speaks, you don't just nod and wait for your turn. You lean in, you absorb, you care. This kind of attention is rare because it requires you to stop seeing her as an object and start seeing her as a person, not someone to win, but someone to witness. When you do that, something shifts. Her guard starts to drop. Her rehearsed answers fade. She starts to open because she senses that you're not like the others. You're not hypnotized by her image. You're fascinated by her essence. And this doesn't mean you ignore her beauty. You still admire it, but you don't get lost in it. You compliment her without placing her value on it. You let her know she's gorgeous, but you also let her know that what really moves you is how fiercely she protects her friends, how she thinks before she speaks, how she notices the small details others miss. Those are the things that make her feel seen, truly seen. And when a woman feels that, she starts to trust you with parts of herself she usually keeps hidden. Most people don't take the time to see past the surface. They fall in love with the idea of someone, not the actual person. But if you can see her beyond her beauty, you won't just stand out. You'll become someone she can't forget. Because in a world obsessed with appearances, being deeply seen is intoxicating. And when a woman realizes you're not blinded by how she looks, but drawn to who she is, she won't feel like a prize. She'll feel like a person. A real connection begins there, not in the looks you admire, but in the soul you notice. Holding your frame means staying rooted in who you are, no matter what's happening around you. It's the ability to remain emotionally steady, mentally clear, and spiritually grounded, even when things get challenging, uncertain, or tempting. In the context of dating and relationships, it's one of the most powerful signals a man can give, because most men lose themselves the moment they feel attraction. They abandon their standards, their purpose, and their sense of self to chase validation. But a man who holds his frame doesn't move like that. He stands firm in who he is, and that alone changes the entire dynamic. When you hold your frame, you don't overreact. You don't get pulled into drama, games, or emotional chaos. If a woman tests you, which she will, whether consciously or not, you don't take it personally. You don't lash out or beg for reassurance. You stay composed, not because you're cold, but because you've mastered your emotions. You don't allow someone else's behavior to dictate your mood or your direction. This kind of stability is rare and deeply attractive. It makes a woman feel both challenged and safe. Challenged because she can't manipulate or control you. You're not easily swayed. Safe because she can trust that you won't crumble under pressure or lie to please her. She can feel your backbone, and that earns her respect in a way that words never could. Most men lose their frame when they're afraid to lose the woman. They compromise too soon. They let go of their values, their time, even their friendships and goals just to keep her close. They stop leading and start following. They become reactive instead of grounded. That's when the energy shifts and not in their favor. The moment you make someone else the center of your world, you lose your frame. And once that happens, attraction starts to fade, because a woman doesn't want to lead a man emotionally. She wants to feel the strength of his leadership without him needing to dominate, hold. Your frame also means being okay with walking away. If something doesn't align with your standards, your vision, or your peace, you let it go, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. You don't cling, you don't beg. You simply know that what's meant for you won't require you to shrink or twist yourself into someone you're not. And that confidence makes you rare. It makes you the type of man who can't be easily replaced, because most people don't know how to stay firm in their truth. It doesn't mean being inflexible or emotionally detached. You can still be warm, kind, open, but there's a line that doesn't move. That line is your frame. It's the energy that says, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, and I don't need anyone's permission to own it. And when you walk into a room with that energy, speak with that energy, and love with that energy, people feel it. You don't need to prove yourself. Your presence does the talking. A man who holds his frame doesn't just attract a woman, he inspires her, because in his strength she sees something stable, something true, something worth trusting. Letting go of the outcome is one of the most liberating things a man can do, not just in relationships but in life. It means showing up with intention, giving your best, expressing yourself fully, and then releasing the need to control what happens next. Most men struggle with this because they tie their self-worth to results. If a woman says yes, they feel validated. If she says no, they feel rejected. But the truth is, neither response defines you. What defines you is how solid you stay regardless of her reaction. When you let go of the outcome, you stop chasing. You stop trying to force connection. You stop needing things to go a certain way in order to feel okay. You can walk up to a woman, say what you truly feel, and if she responds with openness, great. If she doesn't, you smile, walk away, and carry your energy with you unchanged. That's power, that's freedom, because it means you are no longer held hostage by other people's approval or rejection. Most men get trapped in attachment. They try to say the perfect thing, make the perfect move, and manipulate the situation so they can win the girl. But women can feel when you're outcome dependent. It shows up as pressure, it shows up as nervousness, hesitation, or trying too hard. It doesn't feel relaxed or confident. It feels needy. And neediness kills attraction, no matter how good your intentions are. But when you let go of the outcome, everything changes. Your energy shifts, you become more playful, more real, more expressive, because you're not trying to impress, you're just being yourself. You're not trying to get anything, you're simply offering who you are and letting her respond however That energy is rare. It feels light but strong. It's attractive because it shows that your life is already full and she's an addition, not a requirement. Letting go of the outcome also gives you clarity. You see people and situations for what they are, not what you want them to be. You don't hold on to red flags hoping they'll turn green. You don't settle just because someone gave you a little attention. You stay rooted in your truth, and if someone fits, you welcome them. If they don't, you move on without resentment. That's what self-respect looks like in action. It's not about being indifferent or cold. You can care deeply and still not cling. You can want something and still be at peace if it doesn't happen. That balance is emotional maturity. It's what allows you to love freely without becoming a slave to the result. When you let go of the outcome, your confidence becomes untouchable. You're no longer afraid of what you can't control because you trust yourself to handle whatever comes. And that trust within yourself is what makes you magnetic. Because a man who doesn't fear the outcome is a man who can't be broken by it. And when a woman senses that, she knows she's dealing with someone different, someone steady, someone free. And freedom, more than anything else, is irresistible. So what do you say to a woman that makes her truly feel you? You say it without neediness, without a mask, without trying to impress. You say, I like you, I don't need you, I choose you if you're choosing me too. Because when a man speaks from presence, from self-respect, from emotional strength, not performance, she feels something rare. She feels safe, freedom. She feels the calm certainty of a man who knows who he is, and in a world full of noise, games, and empty words. That kind of man doesn't chase women, he attracts them effortlessly. That's the Stoic secret no one tells men.